There's a little bit of, it's about moving forward always, especially when you get in the tournament. But uh, I think this team going 17-3 in the Big Ten. I don't think there's been. I mean that we haven't had a lot of teams that have done that, and uh, there's it's so much about here. What is that last match? What is that last match? And one things I've tried to do a little bit better job because I'm just not naturally wired that way is just taking a breath and appreciating what we've been able to do along the way. This team has really done a great job of coming together. We're, one of 64 teams that are still playing, and we don't take that for granted. I mean, I know that's the standard here as it should be, and we're always trying to compete for championships, but. It's not a big number of teams that are still playing. You've got 16 teams that are hosting. Feel very fortunate and excited to be hosting that opening round. We've got two home matches left, or one home match with the opportunity of two home matches, and hopefully those fans haven't got a report, but I'm sure they're gobbling up. We need both matches to be sold out. I think this has been the Fieldhouse has been a great home for this team this year, and we need that sucker packed both nights. Three really good teams that have had great seasons, two of them that have won their conference, and a third that have been in some battles and knocked off some of the top teams in the country. So we've got a tremendous challenge in front of us, tremendous opportunity in front of us. I mean, the saying of everybody is 0-0 is absolutely true. It's you earn the opportunity to move forward, and we're certainly excited for for that opportunity in round one here on Thursday night.
How much more educated are you on Eastern Illinois than you were 16 hours ago or so?
More, definitely. It's, a little bit of each. It's the back-to-back, how we do it. I think everybody does it a little bit different. When you're playing back-to-back, you have to be kind of prepared for all three teams is how we've done it. Fortunately, in the other rounds, if you're fortunate to get there, you've got a little bit of space in between, and the times that we have played back to back, we've done that twice this year. Early in the week, we went through our second opponent early, and then as we got closer to match time, we focused in on our first opponent, and that's what we'll do. We'll give them a little bit of information today on UNC and UTEP, and then tomorrow will be Eastern Illinois for the rest of the week, going up until match time. So it's just not brand new if you got the opportunity of going through the first one. So, last night I was spending a little bit of time on each of them to familiarize myself, and then as we're moving toward the rest of today, it'll be Eastern Illinois. So.
First postseason that you don't have any of the players in that 2021 team, kind of how does that change things, and is there much of a difference for you?
This morning I woke up to some cool text messages of people that were a part of that team and last year's team, people that have graduated and that are excited. I don't know. It's I guess I haven't really thought that much about somebody that has been through 6 matches. We don't have that. Carter, I think, is the only one that's played in 5 of them in the tournament. We've got so many people that have not experienced either the NCAA tournament or a deep run in the NCAA tournament on this team, and there's certainly the joy of them going into for the first time is really cool. And then people that this is their last opportunity to go and get on a run. The joy of this time of year from your players uplifts every coach out there. I would say. I mean, it's just so. It's finally here, right? The tournament is finally here, and you pick up steam the further that you go into it, and the excitement just continues to build, and that joy you're unleashing it. It's at a different level, and so I'm fired up for our kids and the opportunity. I'm fired up for today's practice. Quite a few of them have just been sprinkling in all day today to kind of get some individual work. They're just a different spring in the step.
So Kelly, just with this process, I know you talked about it a little bit about the scouting, but just how, for those that don't know, just who gets those duties in terms of scouting? Is it multiple people across for each opponent, potential opponent, and just what are the kind of the systems that you use to try to evaluate and see where matchups are?
Yeah, it's changed over the years. I would say early on it was, all right, this coach are focusing in on this team and this other coach is focusing on another team. I'm kind of focusing in on all of them a little bit. But I think we've changed it up a little bit, maybe the last couple of years, that it's, all right, if you're in charge of this portion of a match, then dive into each of those opponents on that portion. You don't need to know everything about the opponents, but know, if you're responsible for the serve and pass game, let's have that. You don't need to dive into anything else, but you need to have that for all three opponents. Defense, and having what it's going to be our defensive plan for each of the opponents, and so rather than turning over an opponent to one coach, we're kind of all staying almost in our silos with each of the opponents.
Kelly, I think it was the Kohl Center weekend, whether it was the Texas loss or the Florida win, either way, you really expressed excitement for this team to grow together with this new roster and everything. Since that moment, how have you seen them stay together, work together, and grow as a unit getting ready for this time of year?
The maturity has gone up, the grittiness has gone up, the ability to talk. I mean, my goodness, the beginning of the year, we were fine talking to each other off the court in non-volleyball ways. But, man, you get into a team room or the meeting, a film room out on the court, it was just, they did not demand from each other. They did not clarify for each other. And in our sport, where you can't stop and hold on to the ball and get reorganized, that's a real problem. They've gotten to be really good with that. We're not losing hesitation points like what we were earlier. There in our sport, that's when anxiety goes up, there's that tendency to hesitate, and then those are just killer points. We're not doing that nearly as much. So I would say the grittiness, the ability to rebound after something bad happens, the ability to communicate, those things have been dramatically different.
You mentioned how much this team has progressed through the year.
Yeah.
What are the areas now with that short window that you think need to step up beyond what you've done so far the most?
Mm-hmm. Our passing is really, really solid. I mean, there were holes in our passing earlier in the year. We're just not seeing that. Doesn't mean that everybody's having a great passing night, but the holes or the system flaws in our serve receive isn't there. We had quite a few errors in our last match, but their first ball side out was 18%. Holy crap! I mean, if we are holding an NCAA tournament team to 18% FBSO, that is, you are serving and defending really, really well. And, we probably had 3 more service errors than what we liked. That's fine. Those things happen. But I think we're putting a lot of pressure on people behind the service line. Defensively, I think we can get a lot better. I mean, I still think that there's areas that we can defend. We are getting better. That'll be a focus. I think our offense is as good as anybody in the country, and so, continuing to get better with our block and back courts and coordinating together, reading better is certainly going to be an area of focus, and then maybe a couple wrinkles offensively thrown in there.
talking a couple weeks ago about how confidence, can be the greatest drug. To be able to beat Minnesota the way that you guys won that match. Does that help your confidence kind of going to this first weekend?
It has to. I mean, right? It's the more you're in different battles, and I challenged this group going into that match. I mean, I wasn't particularly pleased with some of the things we saw in Northwestern. I mean, there was a lot of good things that we did, but we challenged them after that match, and this team has responded every time that there has been a challenge. And I felt like we were going to get a different level of intensity. And we certainly did. I thought defensively that was as scrappy as what we have been, and being able to control hard-driven balls and really good defensive reads. And I thought that was, they serve about as well as anybody in the country, and we put up really good passing numbers against them. And so, I think that, when you put up good passing numbers against a poor serving team, it doesn't really do anything. But when you're doing against an elite serving team, man, that builds you up. And when you're going on the road and playing in front of big crowds, like we're there, I mean, that builds you up. And that's just armor for that you're going to need if you're going to make a run in this thing. And so. Yeah, I think the season built our confidence. The fact that we're playing our best ball at the end of the season builds your confidence. And, and now you've got one night and one night only to put out, to put out your best product that night. And if it's good enough, then you get to move on. And so I'd be surprised if our team is not ready to play each time that we've got. They've been pretty good at that. Very, very few exceptions.
So, Kelly, I know watching the broadcast of the Wisconsin-Minnesota game that I know the commentators are talking about kind of the service errors. Based off your answer you just had a couple minutes ago, is that just something that you kind of like you're okay with to a point so that you continue to stay aggressive at the service line?
It's really interesting. We were watching a match the night after against two top 10 teams, maybe. And one of the teams had quite a bit more errors than what we did. And there was almost nothing talked about in the broadcast. And so it's just like, where people want to get their eyes on is where they get their eyes on. And so, yeah, I went back and watched that, and there was a lot of attention to the service errors and almost none to the fact that they couldn't get a first ball kill on us. But they don't have information like that during the match. That's one of the problems with our sports is the information that we're giving, in real time. What is the team passing? What is the team, FBSO? What are they in transition attacking? With the people that are calling the match don't have that kind of information. So how would they know? So I don't get too worked up about that. It's, what do they have? They have a simple box score that says how many errors there are. And do you live with those many errors if you're siding out at the level that we are and you're holding them to that percentage FBSO? We'll win every match there is if we're hitting at the level that we are and we're holding opponents to FBSO under 20%. You could have a lot of errors and be all right. In real time, would you sit there and say, come on now? Absolutely. But in my mind, I'm nitpicking that match. But we're coaches, and that's what we do. And fans are always scared to death, and that's what they do. And so I get it. But overall, you take a step back, we're playing pretty good volley.
Coach, you've been to a lot of postseasons during your time as a coach. What about?
I felt like that was an ageism. But go ahead. Yeah.
Apologies.
All right, young buck. This guy's like 22, and he comes in there and just hammers that. Nice set of hair. You got to talk about that first?
No. Apologies. And 24, by the way. So a little older. But you've been to a lot of postseasons.
Yeah.
What about this particular team and this particular postseason excites you the most?
Yeah. Man, I don't know if every postseason is just awesome. So I don't know if I judge one better or worse than the other. It's an awesome opportunity. But this particular team, they play with such a joy for each other and a camaraderie for each other and an innocence that they approach things. It's just. They constantly remind you why you got into coaching, and but there's real talent in there as well. And so sometimes you can have that joy, but boy, there isn't any talent. They appreciate each other at a different level, and there's a playfulness and a joyfulness out of every moment that's probably a little bit different. Sometimes you can get yourself too seriously, and this time that is never this team's problems. Probably locking in is one of the challenges that this group has had, but there's just a freshness, and I just think anybody that's been following is just really kind of enjoying what this group, and that's just I'm sure we entered the season with so many people having no idea about most of these guys, but even the people that they've known, Charlie Carter, man, the growth that those two players have had over the course of the year, it's refreshing. I mean, it's just Una, this is the growth that she has shown this year. Kristen Simon, holy cow, what she's been like the past couple weeks, as opposed to where she was earlier in the year. There's just been an incredible amount of growth across the board. Thanks, guys.